Hello, YouTube. This is Charisma. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Charisma's Healing Journey. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's really appreciated. It pushes me up higher in the algorithm and gets this message out to many, many more people, which is ultimately why I'm telling my story, why I'm telling my testimony. So we are at part two of the real reason why I left YouTube. So, if you listen to part one, I had to leave my husband, ended up going to a homeless shelter, had absolutely nowhere to go. In this world, it's so easy to be like, oh, well, why couldn't you tell friends? Why didn't you go to family? And I'll tell you who I did go to. I went to the pastor who married me and my husband. I asked him for help. And he knew all the things that my husband was putting me through, was abusing me so badly that I was suicidal. I had to go to the hospital to get away from him, to try to figure out what to do next. Because that's how that I had nowhere to go but to the hospital. And I was able to get some resources as far as like housing and things like that, but that ended up falling through. But yeah, I did tell, and I swallowed my pride and asked this man, like, please help me. Please, just I don't have nowhere to go, no one to turn to. He's abusing me. It's getting worse and worse. He's calling me all types of names. H starts with H, ends with S, starts with S, ends with T, for no reason, just for no reason, calling me ugly, just everything that I tried to do. It seemed like he was against my peace. He was against my happiness. He was against my joy, especially if it meant I was getting attention, and there was the jealousy. I'm a singer, so I would sing in church, and he does play the piano. He's not a very good musician, but he would intentionally mess up on the piano to mess my singing up. That's one of the things he enjoyed. My ex-husband enjoyed doing to torment me. And I stand by, there was absolutely a demonic entity and presence residing in him that was torturing him and wanted to reach out and torture anybody else standing in that demonic entity's way. And anyways, fast forward, I did tell my pastor. He helped, absolutely would not help, absolutely would not help. And it just hurt me at the time because I knew him from 10 years prior at another church I used to go to, and he actually invited me to his church that he was now the pastor at, and married me and my husband. And I considered him someone who was on my side, but it just became apparent that it's almost, honestly, I felt like he wanted me to stay in the position that I was in and stay down and stay out. And he was like enjoying my predicament. So, I mean, even when I was in the shelter and was still trying to come to church, him and his mother, I'd be on Bible study trying to explain that I've left my husband, but I'm still sold out for God. And they would say things like, you don't need to talk about that. That's not everybody's business. You shouldn't be discussing that. And I would be like, why? For what? I have nothing to be ashamed about. I've done nothing wrong. If I've left my husband, I've left my husband. That doesn't make me any less of a Christian. I'm not going to stay in a situation that's detrimental and harmful to me. And it just seemed like as soon as I left my husband, little things were done to let me know that I was no longer welcomed at that particular church. And it hurt because I tithed. I thought I was doing everything that I thought that I was supposed to do. I was volunteering my time, only for the pastor to turn around and advise people that I was staying in a shelter. And I told him that with the utmost confidentiality, and he breached that and actually told other people I was in a shelter. So obviously I had to leave that church. And it's weird because the shelter that I was staying at was almost an hour outside the city. So in order to come to church, I'm driving an hour to church, hour from church, still trying to stay faithful to God. But you know what? The thing that allowed me and gave me the strength to leave is because I had a dream about being in the basement of that particular church. And there was this dog. It was a shepherd, like a, let's say, an Australian Kelpie, a shaggy type dog, not really furry, as furry, and the fur wasn't thick like, say, like a husky. It was silky type of fur, and it was dark. And I remember there the dog came down the stairs, and it got my attention. It was a lot of people in the room. It got my attention, and then it began to walk towards the stairs. And I was kind of confused what that meant, but it came back to me, and then it walked back to the stairs. So I began to follow it. And then the dog went up the stairs, and I followed it out of the church. After I had that dream, I had to think about it for a minute, but I am skilled in dream interpretation. And what you have to understand is dog is God spelled backwards. And God is our shepherd, okay? He's going to lead and guide us out of a situation. He goes before us. He makes the crooked path straight. So what does that mean? He's going before us. So that's what I did. I followed him. Just like I followed, just when he opened the door in the shelter, and there was a lady in the shelter. She did my intake over the phone, and I was very afraid. And she says, "You can't go back. You need to come." I was like, "I don't have any clothes. I don't have nothing." And she said, "You just need to come. It doesn't matter if you don't. We'll get you that. We'll provide you with that." And I was just like, you know what? I'll do it. So this lady did my intake at the shelter, and I was so just discombobulated in my mind. So after that, I didn't see her at all that I can remember. I don't remember seeing her at all after she did my intake. Um, so the shelter experience itself, let's go and talk about that. Shelters are not very nice places at all. They're filled with toxicity. They're filled with people going through their pain, going through their drama, who, honestly are different points in their journey. And some, I'm the type of person, I don't wear my trauma on my shoulders. I tried the hardest, as a black woman, we're taught to stay strong and to bear the weight and to just bear it and not to complain. And honestly, I was putting on a front. I was so deep just trying to keep it together that I felt like the only way that I could keep it together was I had to put on my game face, because honestly, shelter is almost identical to jail. There's nobody you can trust. You can't trust staff. You can't trust other residents who you dine and sup with and break bread with. They'll talk to you just to find out what your business is and go run and tell it to somebody else so they can talk about you, dog you out, all types of stuff. But that's not even the half of it. I was in the country basically. I'm in the state of Indiana. I'm in Indianapolis. Outside of Indianapolis, Indianapolis itself is extremely not it's racist, it's discriminatory. Let's just keep it 100. It is. We can discuss that in other videos, and I stand by what I said. But outside of Indianapolis, there's places that there's some for real deal sundown towns, and we're not even in the South by any means. But Indiana's like the up is up north, but you is down south at the same time. I've known people who I met down south ain't trying to come up to Indianapolis and not trying to do it, and said, "Nope, I'm not going up there." And you know what? I can't even blame them because it's that bad. And the area I was at was in the country, predominantly white. I mean, I remember getting stopped by the police. They're asking me, "What are you doing out here?" Stopping me for no reason. DWB, you already know how it is. The other ladies, it was black ladies and it was white ladies there, but the administration or was 100% white, and that does make a difference. Representation matters, because as I navigate my domestic violence journey, what I saw lacking is a lack of there being providers or organizations that are really catering to domestic violence survivors of color. It's almost like if you are not a white female, it's like your pain and the situation that you're going through, it doesn't have the same merit. They don't see you as a victim in the same way they would see a white female. And that's what I experienced. So when I'm talking to caseworkers, I'm trying to tell them my story, and they're sitting up here getting defensive, saying I'm too pride filled, trying to convince me to quit my job. and get on the system, because I was having problems on my job. But what in the world, how is that a solution for me to quit my job and get on welfare? Like, really? That's all the advice you have for me? Like, come on now. And it's almost like the intent is they want you to get with their program, and it's like these shelters, they want to strip you of everything that you have, that you came in there with. If you have something, they don't want you to have nothing, because the less you have coming up in there, the more control they have on you. Let's just keep it 100. So I'm coming up in there, I have a car, I have a good job, my clothes, I'm dressed to impress. I mean, I'm not showing my pain. Like, my pain is my own personal journey, but they want me to be downcast. They want me to be down and out, broke, busted, and disgusted, is what I believe. And there's an intimidation factor, because I'm a strong Black woman, and that strength is God's strength that keeps me moving. And why should I break down? If I break down and I cry, that's a private affair. That's between me and my Lord, or somebody trusted. But I can't trust nobody in here, especially when you're going and roommates are, yeah, because you did have to share a room with people coming and lying on you, and telling staff that they don't like you because you remind them of their previous abuser, and it's triggering for them. And I'm like, what, really? So you mean to tell me that I don't have a right to stay in here because you're triggered by me, because I remind you of a past abuser? That sounds like your trauma. That doesn't have anything to do with me. But they legit tried to. That's one prime example of what they tried to do. This shelter was a bit more lenient than the shelter I've been to prior, before I married my husband. So you could get passes and leave for 3 or 4 days at a time. And honestly, I was going back to my husband's house to get away from the toxicity of the shelter. It was terrible. It was like this ping pong effect, because my husband's remaining toxic. He's not good for me. He's not healthy for me. However, I'm still finding myself dependent on him. I mean, even through this, he's giving me money, and, trying to convince me to stay with him, and trying to convince me to come back home. And I'm not going for it. I'm not doing it. Like, I knew I couldn't go back, because I knew that nothing was going to change if I went back. We've tried therapy. You won't go to therapy. You've turned the therapist against me and manipulated her. So now she doesn't believe me or anything that I'm saying about the things that you're doing. So, your family hates me. They're calling, cussing me out. You're telling them, Lord knows what you're telling, probably telling them lies about the situation, still trying to front like we're still together. But your family knows we're not together. Like, I'm not there anymore. I mean, my furniture's still there. I would come in and out to get clothes and things like that. But it was a terrible, that was a dark, dark time for me. Like, because I just felt like my back was against the wall. I'm trying to leave this man in the place I'm at, trying to get assistance. They don't really want to assist me, and I'm being bullied at the shelter, and the directors aren't listening to me. They're trying to say that, there's no there altercations are never one-sided, and what did you do? And just these gaslighting techniques to try to make me feel like I've done something. But I stand by, I did nothing to these women other than stand tall and stand proud, and try to do the best, make the best of a bad situation. I'm being told, you in here with me, how dare you try to tell me about the Lord? And these are the same women who've come to me with their problems, with their pain, have asked for prayer. I've prayed with you. I've listened to your sob stories. You haven't asked me about nothing about me, and I wouldn't tell you even if you did ask, but I still provided a listening ear. And just the wickedness, just it was bad. It was bad. The only thing that kept me going was church. Now, there was a chapel in this particular shelter, and I would go, and that's when, believe it or not, I started, exploring my gift of teaching and ministering to the word, and ministering through music. And I would take my portable Bluetooth speaker. I would have church up in there. I mean, I really would have me some church in it. I mean, maybe one person came with her children, and she was trying to get me to convert to Wiccan, and just ridiculous stuff like that. But after she couldn't get me on board with that, It was just me up in there. And I mean, I really had church. I mean, really worshiping 2 and 3 and 4 Sundays that I can remember, and just singing and praising and just saying, Lord, I don't know why I'm up in here. I don't know why I'm going through this situation. I don't know why these people seemingly don't want to help me. I can't see a way out, but I'ma trust you until you move. I'ma trust you until you decide to place me elsewhere. And it got so bad to the point where I had to call another agency. I had to call another domestic violence agency and tell them about the treatment I was receiving at this shelter. All I know was that I told the lady the situation. She said, "Let me call you back." She never called back. But the very next day, the director of the shelter I was staying with said, "Okay, well, I know you're having problems here, so how about we get you a hotel until you can find stable housing?" I was like, "You say no more." Man, I packed my bags so quick, they got me a hotel. I stayed up in that hotel for a month. Um, and I don't know, even though the eviction at this point, the eviction filing from the previous landlord situation that I had gone through with sexual harassment, see previous videos about that, have explained that in great detail. And I was like, let me take a chance and just try to apply for some apartments. This eviction filing is maybe a year and a half years old at this point. I said, let me just take a chance. And you know what? It was the apartment of my dreams. I said, let me just take a chance and see. I filled out the application. The shelter gave me the application fee, all the expenses related to that. And lo and behold, I got accepted. I got accepted into the apartment. Best apartment I've ever had in my life. Thumbs up in comments, likes, or subscribes if you would like me to do an apartment tour. Be more than happy to. I mean, I'm living on a lake. I mean, I've never had an apartment this gorgeous. It's the apartment of my dreams. And the only thing that would be better is my house. But God, we going to go from glory to glory to glory. And, I'm in it to win it. So when God says it's time for me a house, I'm going to get a house. But I went from being homeless to a beautiful apartment, deluxe apartment in the sky on the lake. People got boats, gated community, gated entry. I mean, a code to get into my building. I mean, safety. And I needed that safety and security because I'm a woman living on my own now. So I needed that to feel safe. And I didn't want to live in a bad area. I've been used to living in bad areas, ghetto areas. Even though the struggles real have been paying my way through college, working two jobs at times. And, I finally, honestly, after all I've been through, even after the homelessness, after the divorce, I got to a point, I got this apartment. I finally feel like, yes, I finally arrived. So, dun, 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 drum roll. So, what happens when I'm about to move into the apartment, and the things that happen next are absolutely mind blowing and mind boggling. And God was just getting started with me, but the enemy, the enemy was just gonna ramp his stuff up too. Come on, spiritual warfare is real. However, you know what? You come with swords and shields. I come with this. I come with this. You see this? It's the Holy Bible. You can't see it's probably backwards, but that's my sword right there. And that's the only thing that ever delivered me, and the only way I ever got from glory to glory. But yeah, so we end this video, part 2, with finally getting approved for the new apartment after having left my husband. We're talking a time span of 2.5 to 3 months. And one last thing I want to leave you with. Remember when I told you about the individual, the young lady who did my intake? I seen her. I can remember seeing her the day I came in. She did my intake, and I seen her one more day, the day I was leaving, the day I left the shelter and was packing my bags. I seen her. Just, she wasn't looking at me, she wasn't acknowledging me, but I just seen her. I glanced at her and saw her walking down the hallway. So I asked the director who was helping me with the move. I said, "Who's that one lady, such and such? She looked like this." I described her, and she was like, "Do you mean such and such?" I was like, "No, another lady." "Do you mean such and such?" "No, not her." She was like, "Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's so many girls in here who fit the same description." And it occurred to me, I had to think hard and I said, could that have been? I know it was. I know what it was. I know what that was. I know who she was. I know what she was. But do y'all know? I want to hear y'all, some of y'all comments of who you think that lady was, and I'll confirm that on part 3 of the real reason I left YouTube after my Atlanta Street interviews. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, I'm going to leave y'all with positivity and love. You know, if you're going through anything, know that God got you. Just pray. You got to believe and have faith without ceasing. I know that's easier said than done because my faith has been tried in a lot of the situations that I've been through. But all I know is this: God has never changed up on me. Man has, but God never did. So that's why I'm just, sometimes in order to look forward, you got to look back. And all I can do is look back on how good God has been to me. And I'm going to keep on praising his name and glorifying him. And that's the story. That's part 2. That's the conclusion of part 2. And I will see you guys in part 3. Thank you. God bless.